What is going on YouTube? This is the story of how a 16-year-old Minecraft player has become a Street Fighter prodigy and taken the Street Fighter V competitive world by storm. I'm talking, of course, about EndingWalker, who I feel his story must be told. We haven't covered him too much on this channel, even though he's been all the rage in the Street Fighter competitive community for the past 6 or so months here. So who am I talking about? This young man right here holding his first trophy from his second ever offline event, and I can tell the claims are true that he is actually 16 years old, because that is approximately the exact same haircut that I had when I was 16. This young man has been taking the world by storm, and he is, as of today, qualified for Capcom Cup. Here he is in the final round of the World Warrior UK and Ireland events.
Again, I think he's caved in. No, he's pressed the button instead. He hasn't got the bar just yet.
And you can tell how he's going to end it. If you know EndingWalker, you know.
Is EndingWalker going to do it? Walk up, Psycho! Yeah! He's going to do it!
Oh my god, he did it!
Of course, he ends it with the dash up EX Psycho Upper. And pay attention to that, because you might notice a pattern of behavior with this young man here. But yes, he qualified for Capcom Cup at 16 years of age, which officially makes him the youngest person to ever qualify for Capcom Cup, you know, the end of the season championship, for the opportunity to play with the best of the best in the world in Street Fighter, and for the opportunity to win 250,000 in prizing. So it's a very big deal to qualify for Capcom Cup, especially at that young of an age. And I believe the previous youngest player may have been 21 years old. I hope the paperwork works out and there's no legal complications with someone under the age of 18 actually qualifying for Capcom Cup. He actually had a really amazing run leading up to this event, but at the beginning of the year, it did not start off so smooth. So he actually started off competing in the UK and Ireland CPT qualifying event. This is one of the first events in the beginning of the season. First place qualifier here, first place finisher will automatically earn a spot into the Capcom Cup, and that went to the 4 Phil. So this was early on in the season for 2022. And if you look at the top 8, you might notice you don't see EndingWalker anywhere in sight. In fact, you have to open up the brackets and realize that in this first CPT event, the only CPT event that they had for the region, actually, he actually finished in top 16. So here EndingWalker loses to Soundboy prior to top 16, goes to loser side, ends up moving on, and then he actually loses to Mopulapu down here in losers, and is out in the round of 16 prior to top 8. So this is how the season began. It sucks to lose early in the season, because the way the CPT works is you have one CPT event, and then there's the World Warrior program, which will allow you to have the path to the only other qualifying spot for your region. You go through 5 events. The top 8 players who earn points through the events at the end of the season will then go to the World Warrior Regional Finals for one last tournament. Whoever wins that gets the other Capcom Cup spot. So he had a long road ahead of him in order to secure that spot. And you know what? He was kind of ready for that road. After losing that CPT event, we can see here from Salt Mine League that EndingWalker not only began to win all of the World Warrior events, at this point in time, he won 4 out of the 5 events. He also won 7 out of 7 of the Salt Mine League ranking tournaments. So he was on an 11 tournament win streak in EU, and this is not against weak competition. I mean, these are the best players in EU. He's winning tournaments over people like Akainu, over people like Luffy sometimes, over people like Problem X. So he is getting the job done and making people rage quit in the process, okay? He is winning tournament after tournament after tournament. You can even look at the World Warrior standings. He ends up winning the final World Warrior ranking event as well. 50 points for each one of these events, and he ends up 5 for 5 on the World Warrior events. Look where Problem X, Evo champion Problem X, Red Bull Kumite Vegas champion Problem X has 145 points to EndingWalker's 250. 5 for 5 for the World Warrior events. However, that does not mean that he is qualified for Capcom Cup. After winning every World Warrior event, that only means that you've secured your spot in the top 8, and you still need to win one last event, the World Warrior Regional Final. So there exists a world where EndingWalker could potentially win all 5 events leading up to the finals and still lose the final events and not qualify for Capcom Cup. That's how, you know, high the stakes are at this moment in time. And in a lot of these wins, you know, 5 for 5 here, he definitely got some gnarly wins over Problem X, some very dominant sets. So he was beating some of the best players in the world in his region in extremely dominant fashion. However, during all this time, he did finally lose eventually an online tournament. The online streak did come to an end, but it's weird the way he lost. He lost a Saltline League ranking tournament, and in this tournament, he actually ended up getting 4th because he was double jeopardy by Rickman's Barnett, who plays Minot, and then that allowed Akainu to win a tournament with Dan. So he finally did drop a tournament after an incredibly long and very prestigious online tournament win streak, and then the person who wins and cleans up is Akainu with Dan. So that's just a pretty interesting side note there. But after this loss is actually when he went and won the final World Warrior event. That was after this loss. So he still cleaned up the World Warrior series very, very well. But you might notice a theme here. This is all online. So, you know, in the Street Fighter community, there still exists this stigma about online events. And especially since we were forced to shift to focusing on online events due to the fact that we had COVID, the offline CPT tour was essentially canceled for the past 2 years. And now we've switched to these regional CPT events and World Warrior regional finals to get representatives from each region where they would compete online. So we had not seen him compete against more international competition or ever in an offline setting. So actually, here's from the man himself, the word that he'll be competing for the first time in an offline event. Versus fighting will be my first time playing at an offline event, my first time ever playing on PS4, and my first time meeting some of the FGC people I've interacted with online in this community. See you in 2 days. I'll be in the venue as soon as it opens looking for games. He had literally never played offline. And I don't mean an offline tournament. This is his first offline tournament, first offline major. I mean, he had literally never played Street Fighter offline against another human at a meetup. He'd never gone out to a local. He'd never gone to a meetup. He had been 100% through and through playing Street Fighter V online. He began playing the game in 2018 and was fully learning the game and competing online. He achieved all this success without going through the usual hoops that most people go through in order to achieve big wins. And now it's time to test his mettle in an offline environment. And he actually does really well. He ends up getting 3rd place. He loses to PG Punk over here and Jester Power and claims a respectable 3rd place in his first offline event, switching platforms, switching from PC to PS4, and playing in an uncomfortable new environment in front of an audience, in front of a crowd. First offline regional major, and gets 3rd. That's a really great result. I mean, an amazing result regardless of who you are, but being this young, 16 in your first offline event, that's actually a huge accomplishment. But of course, it doesn't end there, because we have to go on to the next offline event. This time it's Ultimate Fighting Arena, UFA, and the competition is much more stiff. Let's take a look at EndingWalker's run at Ultimate Fighting Arena. This bracket is filled with people like Mr. Crimson, Angry Bird, Punk, Takamura, Phenom, Big Bird. It's a stacked event. It has some of the best in EU, some of the best from America, and of course the birds are there from the Middle East. And EndingWalker goes on the run of a lifetime. He takes a 2-0 win over Killzoo, a 2-over win over Angry Bird, going on to top 8, 3-1 against Mr. Crimson, who many consider to be the strongest player early on in 2022. 3-0 win over Punk in winners finals, 3-0 win over Valmaster in grand finals. He takes UFA, the largest fighting game event we've had since EVO, one of the biggest Street Fighter V majors that we've had in the 2022 season, with only dropping 1 game for the entire tournament. And of course, he has to do it in EndingWalker fashion.
Here it comes. Could be you can't be brave that stage. Yeah, just have to do that. Nice, low profile. Oh no, he gets clipped
on a pixel.
Logan,
it ain't over yet.
Logan, here it comes. He only needs 1 more hit, you know. That might be stunned. Not quite still alive. Wow! No! Oh! Of course! And he's done it!
I hope you were paying attention to the initial win presented in this video here. There seems to be a pattern forming with how EndingWalker likes to close out these events. I don't know if you're starting to notice this. Walk up EX upper is how he chooses to win his first major as a 16-year-old kid playing Street Fighter V for a handful of years. It's the most Ed way to end it. Walk up EX upper. And that ends his most legendary run so far. People were having doubts about how good EndingWalker really is. You know, they were saying, oh, it's online only. He's not competing with a wide field of players. But after UFA, there's no way you can slice it. Look at the crowd there. He beat everyone's ass at this event and did it in style. And what does he do? He gets up and he immediately walks off stage and leaves the area. He doesn't celebrate. He doesn't pop off. He doesn't even know what to do. He wins and he walks up and goes to sit down with his friends over there. And like, oh, okay, I guess I won the tournament. It's all over. And of course, everyone had to tell him to get back up on stage to celebrate his victory there. So really, it goes to show, you know, that's what you would normally do in an online tournament. You would win and just go, okay, I'm going to hop on into the kitchen and grab a snack now. Go make a sandwich or something. And there he is, forced to stand in front of the crowd to celebrate his first offline major win. But it becomes pretty wholesome. You know, he starts to warm up to the crowd here. So during the ceremony here, they give him the medal. Crowd cheering for him. And then there we go. Crowd looking for a reaction. Holding the trophy. Punk tells him to hold it up, and there we go. Reveling in the moment, celebrating his win. Finally, we get a little bit of a celebration out of him right before the stream cuts off. This actually spawned a really good meme here from High Fight. Where is the champion, they ask. Where is Ryu, aka EndingWalker? Already seeking the next challenge, ceremony means nothing to him as he strolls past the trophy. The fight is everything. Yeah, so EndingWalker, 16-year-old Minecraft player, is a real-life Ryu. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Really embodying the Ryu lifestyle there, moving on for the next battle, and he keeps it pushing. However, after all this time, you have to remember that he is still not qualified for Capcom Cup. He wins UFA. He is 5-5 for the World Warrior events here, 250 points. Accumulated by having a 100% win rate, and he is still not qualified for Capcom Cup. So going into this final event, the stakes were actually really high and the pressure was really high for EndingWalker. He had to win the final tournament. He could potentially go this whole entire stretch of time dominating the European scene and dominating against international competition, but not qualifying for Capcom Cup. So it was a little nerve-wracking because he actually ended up going to losers early. EndingWalker was actually beaten by Shax in winners finals. He had to go through losers to eliminate Problem X, to reset the bracket against Shax, and then to, of course, bring it all back around to take the tournament, qualify for Capcom Cup, and do it in EndingWalker fashion, as we all know he likes to do. Dash up, EX Epper to get the stun, to punch his ticket into Capcom Cup, and to certify himself as the youngest to ever qualify for Capcom Cup at 16 years old. So that is the story of EndingWalker qualifying for Capcom Cup in the 2022 Street Fighter V season. Now, what does this mean for the future of Street Fighter? Well, to be honest, it's a really good thing to see. I always have concerns about how the community is often getting older and we don't have too much new blood in the competitive community to replace the aging Street Fighter scene as people retire and move on to living their lives. So the fact that he is 16 years old, the fact that there's interest from a younger audience in Street Fighter is always just a positive thing. And it shows that there's still tons of potential talent out there in the world to make waves in the fighting game scene. And it doesn't require someone to be playing for decades and decades to have all this experience in order to win. There can be talent that comes out, learns the games quickly, and challenges the best and most established players in the world and actually dominate and beat them in the competition and go on to qualify for the Capcom Cup. With Street Fighter 6 on the horizon, I feel like there's tons of EndingWalkers out there. Just they're stuck in the Fortnites and they're stuck playing Minecraft. But I think soon we will see with Street Fighter 6 and its larger, more mainstream appeal, the fact that it's doing a lot more content for a lot more of a wider audience to enjoy. I think we're going to see a lot more younger players come into the scene, and perhaps we have a bunch of EndingWalkers running around making us all look silly and beating us with dash up EX uppers left and right. But that's all I have for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed the story of EndingWalker. If you enjoy this type of video and content, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It does support the channel, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.